Hey, welcome back to Bandwagon fans. This is Jeff,
Hello, I'm Jason.
and tonight we have this is the Mandalorian season 2 finale, chapter 16, The Rescue. It's got a lot of names going on for it now.
Oh yeah,
Well, you got chapter 16.
I just watched it. So
you got season 2,
yeah.
episode 8. You got all those different names, and at some point we're going to be talking about more names going into season 3. So, but we'll get to that. First off, we just want to recognize the passing of Jeremy Bulloch, the original actor that played Boba Fett, and obviously Boba Fett is a character that is being featured prominently in this season, in this episode. So another loss for the Star Wars community.
Yeah, timing, eh?
Yeah. And of course, spoilers abound. We're assuming you've already watched the episode or you don't care to see it, because we are going all the way into it. So first off, I know if there's one thing that you've been wanting to see even more than Boba Fett doing something cool,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
What?
It's that new Lifetime movie with Mario Lopez where he's Colonel Sanders.
Exactly. All right. So this episode, how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? What did that mean to you? Oh, and I need a beer for this one. This might get rollicking.
All right. No, it was nice seeing RTD too.
All right. So you know what I'm talking about. All right. So as things are starting to we're gonna go back and talk about the whole episode, but I really wanted to get right into this because it is like the thing. It is the big thing. There's we've known for a couple episodes that there's been speculation about the Jedi that Grogu was contacting, and we were wondering, is it going to be Mace Windu? Is it going to be Luke Skywalker? Is it going to be some other?
I mean, I was positive we were going to see what we saw in this episode next season. I was positive about that. But as far as like who was going to come to Grogu, Grogu, or
as soon as we saw the lone X-wing,
we knew
who it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of like you had the X-wing come in, no response, or like, oh well, he's a lone X-wing. It's kind of, you knew then, but then you looked for the little bits like his one-hand glove,
right?
As soon as lightsaber, that was kind of, even with the green lightsaber, I'll bet there was some people going. So I think Ezra had a green lightsaber. I'm just saying.
So this scene, and so Peyton Reed directed this episode. He's also the director of the 2 Ant-Man movies, and he rightfully gets a ton of crap for being a pretty pedestrian director.
Yeah, a lot of people actually like the Ant-Man movies, right?
I think they're fine. I think they're fine. They're kind of blips within the MCU.
Maybe it's because they're kind of the break from the serious tone. Yeah. Much like Ragnarok or like the Guardians movies. So anyway.
But I thought the directing in this episode was really good, particularly the introduction of Luke Skywalker, because it was like a little bit here that the lone X-wing, we're like, that's got to be Luke, and then the cloak, it's got to be Luke, and then you see the black glove, and you're like, that's Luke, and then the green lightsaber, but the reveal didn't come. Like they teased the reveal, and we saw the coolest set of action that Luke has done in live action.
Well, you knew he was going to be a badass. It's just post Jedi, he's, that whole period, obviously he was honing those skills, right?
Right. And this is one of the biggest things that you've had an issue with the Disney movies, was you never got to see Luke Skywalker as a full
now
Jedi.
I'm sure there's people out there that kind of like their Luke mystique is more of just kind of walking in and doing chokes and not many movements and just dominating like that. Yeah. But I think, modern day people, I don't know, modern day sensibilities, they want to see more action like that. So
was it satisfying you? Did you get that Luke itch?
No, I expected him to be, the way he was, obviously. Yeah. But
now, how did you feel when you actually saw his face?
Oh, I like the.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I accept technology for what it is. Obviously, he was very stilted. There wasn't much personality in it, but.
So for me,
the presence is there. It's Luke.
It killed it. It killed it.
Yeah.
So it was the same. First of all, the whole de-aging technology, when it's done well, you don't really realize it's there.
You know what was so funny? I mean, obviously before he took off the cloak, oh, it's Luke. We all know it's Luke. I was all like, Sebastian Stan.
I know.
I thought it was going to be Sebastian Stan.
I was,
and that was going to be the
up.
big reveal that like this is like with the season finale. This is the official like an MCU actor in the Star Wars, kind of like what they were talking about. But that rumor was so the side by side comparisons and everything.
Yeah. I was so I stood up and it's chair, coffee table, and a TV. Oh. I stood up and got in front of the coffee table to be like right in front of the TV because I was ready for that reveal. And then when we saw it looks like I photoshopped his face on there. Like it was so bad.
I think it was just kind of
it was so bad.
It was what's the word? Were they scared? Do you think?
What do you mean scared?
Well, I mean, it's obviously they've all heard of the people saying the talks about Sebastian Stan.
I don't know.
I
don't know
think
what
this was just like they didn't want to risk too much.
To me it's inexcusable.
Because well, I haven't seeked out any opinions on this episode. So is it more like are they making fun of it or are they like accepting it or
I don't know yet what other people are saying because I literally just finished watching the episode.
I've always been the person like with everything like going into action figures where I've never minded the way they looked in the 80s and all of the everything that's gotten better about things I've just accepted and it's just been a growth thing. But the thing is I like the fact that this is in the story. Mm-hmm. So I can totally put up with what technology is to accommodate the story.
Well,
but I would have accepted Sebastian Stan. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't you have preferred a real actor there instead of a ghostly floating head?
I think if they were going to moving on with different actors to play characters,
any actor,
I think this was the missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because the thing is if you're going to establish, hey, we're going to move on with familiar characters played by different actors, you needed to do it with Luke. Right? It didn't work with Han. And that was a movie, a feature.
Yeah.
You needed to do it with Luke. So now going forward, I mean, was Mark Hamill the stand-in and they euthanized him?
He was
in the credits.
He was credited.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was his voice.
So and it's the same. Now,
did they record his voice and euthanize the voice too? Because it didn't sound as
I'm not sure.
But then again, he's a voice actor, so
yeah. It's also the same. It's also the same. So you never saw Rise of Skywalker.
No,
there were
I never saw Solo either.
There were two scenes where they de-aged Mark Hamill in Rise of Skywalker.
No, I'm aware of the scenes.
And they
training
and at the very end.
Okay.
And they looked awful. They looked terrible. It looks like this did.
I'm still like kind of like just in memory. I think the only decent one in memory was maybe the Downey scene in Civil War. Was that
Samuel? No, that was really good.
Yeah. Okay.
So there it's been used a few times really well. Samuel L. Jackson and Captain Marvel was really good.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War was really good.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that plays not Ant-Man?
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
So that was done. I still never saw Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So also, and I think they may have de-aged him if I'm remembering right in Endgame, but I might be misremembering that.
Okay.
So it's been done really well.
But you're saying like in Marvel it's been done well, but in Star Wars it doesn't have a good track record.
I don't think Carrie Fisher at the end of Rogue One was terrible.
Oh no! I mean, a lot of people
and Tarkin.
A lot of people complain about Tarkin and Princess Leia, but
it wasn't this bad. It wasn't this. This looks like I said this before. I think this looks like I photoshopped it.
Did it look that bad?
It was terrible. It took me out of it so hard, I was literally this far from the TV.
Okay, so here's the thing then. So then I think maybe it's two different lenses we saw this episode in, obviously, because I think I just accepted anything because I was glad for the character. You were still. Well, I don't know. Are you as attached? Were you a Han kid?
No, I was more Han. Yeah.
I mean, so this was my boyhood idol.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Yeah. I knew why
it really was.
As soon as I saw it, so the same thing when I saw.
Yeah, I mean, when you made the comment about Boba Fett a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I mean, this is kind of like way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But overall, I really did like this episode, and I know how much it meant to me because I was standing up, and at the very end, I got teary-eyed.
So take away all of that, getting the eggs back to the planet. This season as a whole has been pretty good. Or do you kind of like Bo-Katan and Ahsoka in it, or do you think that's just way too much fan?
I think this would have been, this entire season could have been cut down to a 1 hour and a half movie.
So the thing is,
and it would have been better.
Do you feel like this season was mainly used to just kickstart other series?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, speaking of kickstarting other series, let's.
Hey, Boba Fett didn't die.
Did you see the end credit scene?
Yeah.
Okay. So there was an end credit scene, and we are going to go back and talk about the actual episode.
Okay, well, we can wait on the end credit scene.
We're already there. All right. So the end credit scene was Boba Fett arriving at Jabba's palace.
Yeah, no, I liked this a lot.
This was cool.
This was neat because you wondered, did anybody else escape the sail barge?
But
I mean, obviously, there wasn't anything on camera, but you're like, well, there had to have been somebody,
manning the home, yeah.
And obviously, it makes sense that it would have been Bib Fortuna taken off.
Yeah.
Especially after Jabba died, because he got choked before the sail barge.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bib Fortuna's here, and he's all girthy, and he's put on the weight, and he's become the mob boss there and taken over the palace.
Yeah, and then
he's got his own Twi'lek slave there, and Boba Fett and his gal comes in. I still forget the character's name.
Ming-Na Wen is the actress. I can't remember.
It's not really mentioned on screen too much, the name of the character. But anyway, they come in. Boba Fett actually Bib Fortuna, he's all, hey, Boba, how you doing? Boba Fett just shoots him, and drops off the throne, and then he just sits in the throne kind of like King Conan there, and it ends with was it the Diary of Boba Fett or the Tales of Boba Fett?
The book of Boba Fett.
The book, okay.
So this is we're gonna go ahead and put on the headphones because there is, last week I mentioned some Grace Randolph's reporting about Pedro Pascal or Pablo Pascal.
Yeah, I mean, sure. So
so let's pull this up and see.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of that.
To say.
Boba Fett is shooting now. Cassian Andor also started shooting. Obi-Wan is just about to go into production. Mando season 3 with Pedro Pascal has not gone into filming. It's doesn't even have a production start date. So it just doesn't make any sense. It makes it, pretty clear, in fact, that the Book of Boba Fett is either The Mandalorian season 3 or a season 2.5, which again is what I speculated last week when I told you that again the Pedro Pascal situation had not been resolved. And remember, I said that I hoped Din Djarin would just be sidelined and not killed so that he can come back at some point, and I got my wish, so I'm very happy about that. Now, since the Pedro Pascal situation has not been resolved, they've given his character a pause. No more Grogu by his side. His mission, the mission of the entire first 2 seasons, is now complete. However, they did give Din Djarin the Darksaber, which Bo-Katan really wants. She was glaring at him hard.
So basically,
that's obviously what they're going to go forward with. Is the Darksaber plot, which I like that. I'm connected to that because I've been watching the animated shows.
Yeah. So basically, what Grace was saying throughout her discussion of this episode is that this entire ending, everything we saw, was thrown together at the last minute in response to Pascal's walking off the set and then coming back later.
I don't know about that.
I just don't buy it. But she does make a compelling argument. Why else are they basically ending season 2 with sidelining the Mandalorian, and now they're switching over to Boba Fett isn't getting his own show; he's getting a season of the Mandalorian to himself.
Oh, is that what this is?
That's what it looks like. That's why
I just figured there'd be a Mandalorian 3 and there'd be this.
No, so basically what she's pointing out is the Book of Boba Fett is Mandalorian season 3. And it's being shot right now, and it's being released when Mandalorian season 3 would be coming out.
But do you think maybe the Ahsoka series or one of the other series, the Cara Dune series, will have the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan and the Darksaber?
And that's Pascal, and that might be. But then who tells stories
maybe
like that?
maybe they want to do these shows still kind of contained in like 2-season stories.
Maybe
they don't want these like shows to just go off the deep
and
end.
that,
I mean, can you imagine one of these shows being like 8, 11 seasons? That's I mean, you know what I mean?
And so that's interesting. So that actually might be
maybe it's a formula they wanted to start with this and then establish it moving on.
That actually might be. So one of the big complaints, if you ever hear me talk about these television shows, is that they have a premise that's good for 1, maybe 2 seasons, but because they're successful, they stretch them out over 5 or 6 years.
Well, because also too, I mean, you notice these episodes aren't the same time.
Yeah.
When there's like a formulated like plan for a show, they're the exact time, 22 some minutes or 48.
Right.
You know what I mean? But these shows are like anywhere from like 32 minutes to 48, 50.
Yeah.
So it does seem like a written out story that they just chunked out to make like some kind of a season out of it.
Yeah.
Because an 8-episode season, that's just a season. That's
So maybe you're starting to convince me back that the whatever drama there was overblown, and that this is part that what Lucasfilm is doing with this show is not traditionally how you would do a TV show. They're experimenting. They're like, we don't want to run things into the ground, so we're gonna put this story on pause because it's kind of run its course anyways.
Yeah,
we're gonna transition this over to Boba Fett, and then we might pick up Mandalorian, Mando's story in another show, because as the lead character, his story is done. So we're going to start focusing on other characters that he can. That actually, if that's what they intended to do, makes a ton of sense.
Or like
to
in
me.
a month, they could
great.
announce the Bo-Katan show.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you don't know. Anything could happen with this. They could have just announced like the Battle for Mandalore, and it could just be a mini series.
Yeah. All right.
I mean,
so
anyway.
let's start running through some of the other stuff that happened in this episode. The Dark Troopers.
Oh, okay. Well, now I like in the beginning where like they go to the bar.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they meet.
If you want to
Bo-Katan.
start at the beginning.
Well, I was just wanted to point out this scene because they always do this. They always do this, going all the way back to even before Hulk Hogan. They always do this. Whenever a wrestler is in a movie, they always try to get in the wrestling move. So when they were there at the table, I liked it that Sasha Banks put him in a headlock and did a tornado DDT on him. But anyway, that was hilarious.
Hey, you got to use the skills they have.
But yeah, they were evenly matched. That was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So anyway, they're kind of reluctant, but then he lets her know that they know where Gideon is.
Right. And then we get the assault on the ship, right? Well, first they
come in landing acting like they're in the Imperial shuttle and Boba Fett is following them.
First thing they do is actually pirate ship the Imperial shuttle, and then and we don't need to go into that. And then, but all right, let's get to the good stuff. So now you've got Boba Fett in Slave One. You've got Mando. You've got Cara Dune, Ming-Na Wen, whatever her character is, Bo-Katan, and
Sasha
Banks. We're just code switching between actors and characters
using
now.
code names.
So now they're in the Imperial shuttle, which is still probably my favorite Star Wars ship of all time.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the best toys.
And it was so hard to get as a kid. It was so expensive.
You have a memory of KB clearance,
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they do the assault on the ship, and
they split off. The group goes in to look for Gideon, while Din Djarin goes on a solo mission. Oh yeah, yeah. I know it now. I have the figure. So he goes on a solo mission to look for the child.
Yeah.
So he is kind of he kind of knows where he's going at first. It appears like he knows he's going directly to these dark troopers to kind of get the door,
shut them off before
they get through the door.
So I want to highlight two things, and it's an example of really good storytelling in this episode and an example of really bad storytelling. So on the good storytelling front, you have Mando doing this. So he tries to shut the doors, right? But one of the Dark Troopers gets out before he does.
Yeah.
So now
and you're kind of even wondering why it was so important for him to shut the doors. Aren't they strong enough to punch through? But then they get, afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, he drags out the one.
He drags out the one, and then they have a fight. And just like I mentioned in the Ahsoka episode, they did a really good job of using this fight to establish what the ground rules were for a later fight. That these Dark Troopers, one-on-one, are stronger than any character, right?
But they did, before he confronted the Dark Trooper, they did point out that one of their weaknesses was Beskar armor.
Right.
Because this is like the adamantium of the Star Wars universe.
But the Trooper, well, that was about the Darksaber when they mentioned that.
Oh, okay, was it?
But one-on-one, Mando was no match for a Dark Trooper. He got his ass handed to him.
But okay, what am I thinking? Oh, that's right. He was able to use the Beskar. That's what I was thinking.
He was able to use the spear
right.
to pierce through the head.
Right.
But it kind of established that one-on-one, this is a pretty even match. Mm-hmm. And then obviously he did the whole aliens and then Endgame thing where he opened the door.
I mean, because it pointed out that they're incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
So you got to use your mind. You can't just out.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I liked about that was it was like a cargo bay or something, and just he opened up the hangar doors and you thought that they were gone.
What was good about it was it established rules that were going to be paid off later in the episode. Mm-hmm. Now, what was really bad about this whole sequence, and actually this happened a few minutes earlier, was when they were doing the initial run to get to the light destroyer.
Okay.
And there was no sense of urgency. There was no sense of danger. I get it that Boba Fett is a badass and the Slave One is a badass ship, but they didn't even acknowledge that the Star Destroyer itself would pose a threat to him. It was just like, yeah, of course, my little teeny tiny ship is going to outmaneuver a destroyer, and that's just like, you can't just devalue and then ramp up the risk. After a while, the audience starts losing interest. Does that make sense?
Oh, you think they should have cared more about the Slave One?
There should have been some mention. There should have been some mention of, hey, you want me to outmaneuver a destroyer and his TIE fighter? Mm-hmm. You guys need to be fast. Something to acknowledge that what he was doing posed a threat to him.
Oh, Boba Fett, no.
But that's just lame. That's just stupid. It's what we were talking about in game night last night with
spaghetti westerns
with the power creeping. Anyways, really good storytelling, really bad storytelling, all in the same episode.
Yeah, well,
But so
I mean I didn't give it much thought because obviously I was probably more focused on the characters and the ship being badass. I didn't care.
But you want him to be badass, but it's not a badass if he's going up against if he's going up against.
Well, I guess they were focused on them getting into the ship, so I guess they didn't put any kind of. Once Gideon realized that these were people trying, because I mean I think
he knew.
Yeah, he knew. Yeah. So he wasn't focused on firing on the Slave One, I guess. But I get what you're saying. Before they went in, maybe Boba Fett should have been more concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all it takes. Sometimes all it takes is a line just to acknowledge.
He's like, I'm a little rusty. I haven't been on Tatooine for
exactly.
5 years wandering around. I got some dehydration issues.
It basically Mary sued Boba Fett. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Hey, at this point, I think all the characters are going to be a little Mary Sue. Everybody's a little perfect. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever.
All right, leaving that aside, we'll go back.
I guess if you give them personality, right, it helps. I guess what a lot of people's complaints were about, past characters were there wasn't enough personality or character for them to accept the Mary Sue-ness. But anyway, that's for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we that's a third rail that we just avoid when we talk.
Because I don't care at this point. It's all good. And moving forward, I like this. So it's all good.
So going further, going back to the actual episode. Now you have and the whole thing with Mando and that one Dark Trooper.
Yeah.
This is what really established Now they're okay. We'll backtrack a little bit.
I mean, I did point out that there's weak spots.
Yeah,
because he penetrated him with the spear there.
So we
there was some flames that kind of got in, kind of jumbled him around a little bit.
But we got into Mando.
He did show off everything though. Flames, rocket,
everything except for the missile on his backpack.
Oh yeah,
which I thought he would use at some point. But anyways, so now he gets into Grogu's cell, and Moff Gideon is there with the Darksaber, and then
he's gonna slice up the little baby.
They do a little,
I guess he's like, at first, Gideon's like, everybody just wants this Darksaber because of the power it wields. So he was under the impression any Mandalorian wants this saber. That's what it's all about. And he underestimated the connection with the child that Din Djarin has. And so once he's like, well, I already took the blood from him, so go ahead.
But it was just a double cross.
But it was one of the classic double crosses.
And I thought this was a really good
fight.
Go
chop his head off, I guess, is what he was going for.
I thought this was a really good fight.
Yeah.
I thought it was
because
well.
What I thought was cool was like it was a lightsaber. It was a familiar scene done with different weapons. Yeah. It was a spear and a Darksaber instead of just two lightsabers, but it was familiar for the few seconds you had it.
I thought it was a pretty well staged scene.
Yeah, this was good paced. The last two episodes have been really, really good pace. Yeah,
Yeah, well, compared to the first two episodes.
Anything. Well, like I said, the eggs were kind of now in hindsight, we were excited to see the show back. Yeah. But now that we've gotten this second half, it's kind of like the first half was like, yeah.
If you were going back and watching the season, the whole series from episode 1,
I'm sure there's half of them you'll pass up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the MCU movies. The more movies you get of that, naturally you're just going to go over some of them.
Right. Yeah. So now fast forward, everybody's on the bridge, right? And the Dark Troopers have returned. And we now know, because of that earlier fight, that little group of people, and Moff Gideon is just gloating, right? He's like, you guys are so screwed. And we now know, because of the rules they've established, that they are not enough to fight off the Dark Troopers. And it's the all is lost moment, right? From Campbell's, what's his book called? The right.
I'm at a loss.
All right, so the archetype of the hero story, right?
Sure.
So this is the all is lost moment, right? Mm-hmm. And then Luke Skywalker arrives.
Well, now does he? That's the very end, right? Close. We need to go over the whole thing about. When is the thing that Gideon talks about the Darksaber?
Oh yeah, so this is right.
I feel that's important.
Oh yeah, so that's fair. So this is right when Mando brings Gideon onto the bridge.
Yeah, and he kind of where he's placed, he kind of conceals there's a blaster that he covers up that he's going to try to use. But before that happens, he's kind of just grimacing, and Bo-Katan kind of makes his comment when they come in. How did you get it? Like that, the Darksaber. And Mandalorian doesn't understand that, and Gideon explains.
So let's go back to storytelling a little bit. Mm-hmm. For you, having watched was it Rebels?
Well, this is like his Clone Wars too. The Darksaber was something that goes back before Bo-Katan.
Right. So this is like this is a reference to other stuff, and if you watch that other stuff, then her reaction is meaningful.
Yeah, I think the first character that had it in Clone Wars was Pre Vizsla.
But for me, only watching Mandalorian,
only the live action stuff, sure.
There was nothing in this show that really established how important the Darksaber was to her, what it meant. So we get her reaction, meaningful to you, meaningless to me. And then we get the explanation.
I think that's the argument that people have about Ahsoka and Bo-Katan in general, that it's more fan service than serving the story or the plot in any way. And how this side story should have just started in Ahsoka. In one of the new shows. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a good story. I'm into this story. I like this. It's your point that I'm invested.
Right. You already know what's going on.
Because this has a lot of episodes in the two animated series. This is a lot of story arc, this Saber and the Mandalore thing.
Yeah, but for me, the story is all about
exactly like everything this show introduced from Clone Wars and Rebels was only for the fans of Clone Wars and Rebels. And it was to establish them in live action lore to start the spin-off series. Obviously, they didn't want to invest just in series after series if they had a way, and this is just going to be the way it is, if they had a way to introduce a and get a fan reaction before they commit to the show, they're going to do it. So that's the thing is, even though they didn't serve a purpose in the plot, the fan reaction has been more, I love seeing Ahsoka and Bo-Katan in the show.
I think
that's what they wanted.
I think it's a technical issue, and even acknowledging that I've never seen Rebels or Clone Wars, a little tiny bit of Clone Wars, they could have fixed it just by reworking the script. And here's how you do it. When, going back to the beginning of the episode, when they're in the bar, Bo-Katan says, I need that sword. Why is the sword so important to you? Because whoever holds the sword lays claim to the throne. That way, somebody like me understands what the stakes are for her, so that her reaction. And then it would lead to that moment where Mando has to decide the kid or my commitment to her.
Does he have much of a commitment to her at this point?
But that's the thing. He promised her that he would help her get the sword, right? But it's not much of a commitment, but it would be something. It'd be more than nothing.
Even when he heard Gideon say it's like, you're like the heir to Mandalorian, that's like a big deal. He's like, I submit, or what did he say? I
right. To him, it didn't matter. But when we see her reaction, there was nothing to it that was meaning me. It would have been fixed by 2 lines earlier in the episode to establish what the stakes were for her. At that moment when she saw.
Maybe going forward with this character, they want to kind of build this story to where he was grown up away from all of that, and he's so detached from Mandalorian, like all of the history of that maybe going forward with the character, like they want to kind of grow this like more appreciation.
Yeah,
to being a Mandalorian.
Yeah,
so maybe giving him that saber and giving him that obligation, they want to put him in this reluctant king position.
They can. All I'm saying is, as they're writing these stories, just real basic rules. Understand what your audience knows, and establish what the risks are for each character.
Maybe they figure since it's all on Disney Plus now, there's no reason why you can't go back and watch all that stuff, you lazies.
Yeah, but
you don't know what the sense is, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from.
So lazy is losing out on 2 lines that would have fixed that problem.
But the thing is now from my point of view, going into this, having watched all of that and even reading some of the EU stuff, I was so ready for every single thing I saw that I really,
You're right.
I mean, there was almost like you had 4 characters that I really liked, because Bo-Katan I did like, but I love Ahsoka, I love Boba Fett, and I love Luke. So this, I don't want to be too like, oh god, I OD'd on fucking Star Wars nonsense. I'm well aware that like they need to still do something good going forward. I'm not just gonna it needs to all make sense.
Yeah, and
I don't know how this is still going to link to the 7, 8, 9, but we'll.
And that's another. And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, right? Now that you've established that, and it's actually Grace Randolph did talk about this in the rest of her review. Now that you've established that Luke Skywalker has Grogu, it really. Right now we're looking at.
I mean, is he gonna make Grogu like wipe out what was already there, and they're gonna just do a new going forward?
Okay, whatever. Okay, all this nonsense.
Well, I'm just saying, in the Rebels, they've established they can do something like that. So
it is inconceivable that Disney with Kathleen Kennedy is going to retcon out $4 billion worth of Fett.
Well, no, I'm with you on that. That's what makes me think that, because it's like come on, all of that.
But anytime a story starts going out of order, where they start doing prequels and retconning stuff, you start running into these issues. That's why
I'm
DC
saying I don't think they want any of these to run too much, like
Yeah.
past like a season or two.
Yeah.
Like that Boba Fett one will probably just be a season. The Obi-Wan Kenobi one might just be a season.
Yeah. The whole reason DC had to do Crisis on Infinite Earths was because
that's why there's always a crisis. Or DC
Flashpoint,
has, there's too many crises.
Was to fix all these dangling story threads.
That was their easy way out.
Yeah.
And making like alternate Earths. Marvel and DC does that, and
But it does raise a question, and this is what Grace was saying. Does this mean that at some point in the future, and not that far in the future, within the Star Wars universe, the future of Mandalorian, that timeline, now we kind of know that Grogu dies at some point. Or they have to come up with a really convincing explanation for why Grogu wasn't available for...
They put him in carbonite. He made a little carbonite block,
and
like a little Hershey's Kiss carbonite,
Yeah, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe they just say, hey, yeah, he's a really powerful Jedi, but it takes him 200 years to get to a point where he's
they did make
Jedi.
the comment in they made the comment in one of the earlier episodes, maybe it was the first episode, that some species live centuries in this universe.
Well, I mean, we know that Yoda was 900 years old,
right. So,
and we know that Grogu was only 50.
Yeah.
So
the thing is Grogu, like after episode 9, Grogu's still only like 100.
Not even 100.
Okay, so
he wouldn't even be 100. And that's kind of the easy way out.
Well, maybe he is like kind of like in like this hibernated state that lasts 100 years.
Yeah, Luke. That's the way to kind of fix it is for Luke to just put Grogu away somewhere.
Yeah.
But at some point, like
he is gonna put him in carbonite.
Those two stories just don't.
Wouldn't that be funny if they did put him in carbonite? That's just how they do it. Wouldn't that be funny? And like, just going forward, like the post-race stuff, maybe talking about like that show, maybe where they do like her kids in something, how they find Grogu in carbonite. Come on, you'd like it, wouldn't
That'd
you?
be funny. It would also be fucking adorable.
It would be very
little Grogu in his carbonite.
It would. They could market it as like little chocolates.
Have you seen the homemade Grogu sugar cookies?
Oh yeah.
Basically, all you do is you do the Christmas angel cookie and just cut the head off, and it's a perfect little Grogu.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Anyway,
something
I saw on Facebook. I thought it was cute. Where do you? So we kind of know that episode 3 is going to be Boba Fett, or season 3 is going to be Boba Fett. We know there's an Ahsoka show coming.
Well, and there's the Cara Dune show.
We think it's Cara Dune.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if that's confirmed. It's the Marshals or whatever. I forget what it's called.
Now the one where Rogue Squadron, that's a movie, right?
Rogue Squadron is a movie. That's Patty Jenkins' project.
Okay, all right then.
Yeah.
What was there another show coming out where there was just with pilots? No.
No,
I'm trying to think. There was a lot of shows.
You got Rogue Squadron. You got Bad Faith. No, Bad Faith.
Oh, Bad Company. That's an animated spinoff of Clone Wars.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff coming out.
More Mandalorians. They're just marketing those Mandalorians.
But no real sense of where this character is going to be. I think the most likely, maybe not the most likely thing, but the thing that makes most sense to me is what you were saying earlier, that we kind of wrap up Mandalorian and we kind of wrap, what's his name?
Din Djarin.
We kind of Din Djarin.
It's with a silent D, Djarin. Din Djarin.
So we wrap up Din Djarin in the Mandalorian, and then he can become a supporting character in
or
Cara Dune's show, or even
they do the Firefly
Ahsoka
thing where they make a movie like they did with Serenity. They just do a Mandalorian movie.
Maybe
that's the thing. Maybe going forward, maybe the shows with the Disney Plus format, maybe this is just like, before we put a movie out there again, because Solo, let's test that character out in a show, and if the character does gangbusters, then we can hold off, and then we can do like 3 or 4 years later a movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, 3 or 4 years from now, everything should be back to normal, and theaters should make a comeback. Those buildings will still be up,
right?
Even if the theaters are closed for a year.
And what else are you going to put in a movie theater building.
Video games.
A movie theater.
Right, exactly.
So,
a rave, dude.
You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the movie theater industry will come back. It probably won't come back as robust as it has been, but it will come back, definitely.
Drive-ins,
What's that?
Drive-in movie theaters. I don't know. I think more of those are popping up. So.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts?
No, I just like seeing Luke. I like seeing Luke not drink milk and sitting on a rock and being curmudgeon-y. Sorry, I just do.
Oh, it's fine,
Yeah. I like seeing him young, even if it's bad computer generated. I like seeing young, shortly after Jedi Luke. I mean, that's the thing, too. No matter how they wrote him in Episode 8, he still would have been a hermit. Still would have been an old guy.
Right.
So I like this. I like seeing Luke as a badass on camera, no matter what he looks like.
Yeah. Did you see any?
And I liked the R2 coming in. That was just a little cherry.
Oh, yeah. R2 coming in.
Well, you knew he was there, obviously, with him. But, just the way they rolled him in and they had the little connection. It harkens me back to that scene in Jedi where Wicket was fooling with R2.
Yeah.
How they had the little baby, fooling with him.
Yeah. And R2 kind of had a reaction to Grogu.
He got all excited. Like, he knew what was going on. Because, Luke has that kind of connection with R2 where R2 kind of, feels through Luke. He gets excited when, Luke, succeeds.
One other thing I want to say, and it was the culmination of 2 seasons of this show. Mm-hmm. The moment where Din has to say bye to Grogu, and then he takes off his helmet.
Did that tear you up?
It did. Even just
that's so funny. I mean, it's like probably like the scene that would tear me up would be like the Luke thing, but you're like with the babe.
Yeah, because that's over the last 2 seasons.
But I dare say you're just as connected to the Mandalorian and the baby as you are to Luke. It's really like kind of like
maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
You're more like you like the movies, but like I don't think you ever like latched onto a character as hardcore. Even growing up.
No.
I mean, the movies were the movies.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, you didn't obsess over a character.
No.
Yeah.
And if I did, it would have been Han anyway.
Exactly. So there you go. So it's like, going over this 2 years, you've watched and you've invested more in Mandalorian and the baby than you have in Luke. Even though Luke came out in your childhood.
Well, so watching, like I told you, like when the X-Wing showed up and we knew Luke was there and he was kicking ass, I was standing up.
Oh, okay.
I was standing up like 2 feet from the TV. I
wasn't a part of the thought. Yeah, makes sense.
What I'm saying, what I was saying about that whole sequence is when I saw how bad that looked, it was such a letdown.
Okay.
Because if it had been, if he had lifted up his hood and it was Sebastian Stan, I would have fucking lost my shit. Because that would have been so cool, but when he lifts up his head,
I mean, also, it's like I said, I was ready for it.
Yeah, but when he lifts the hood and it's shitty CGI Luke just floating ghostly head.
How you doing, brother? All right.
Yeah, special effects matter, and if they take you out of if they remind you that you're watching something fake, looking at Pascal's reaction and having that human connection. Was
yeah,
real.
And also too, we didn't. You were on the subject there of him saying goodbye to the baby, and he took the helmet off.
Yeah,
I think the moments he's taken off the helmet, I think even as an actor, like you said, it's all hogwash. I think he looks back on this and he appreciates the moments that his face is revealed.
Yeah,
because it really adds to it.
Right,
had you just been seeing this guy, oh, what a day,
and I
doing the Stallone Judge Dredd treatment, I don't think people would have. I mean, it just wouldn't have played out as good. Yeah. Because it was the helmet coming off that you really knew. It's that connection. That's what makes the serious connection.
I really do watch Grace Randolph all the time, and I really do respect her. She's like the YouTuber right now that I probably watch more than anybody else.
Okay.
But it's actually insulting to both Jon Favreau and Pascal to suggest that even if Pascal came to Favreau and said, "Hey, how long are you going to keep me in this helmet?" It's insulting to think that Favreau wouldn't say, "Hey, this is what we're planning on doing with it," and Pascal wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, that's good. That's meaningful. Yeah."
That makes sense to me. Sure.
It's an insult. It's an insult to those two as professionals and as a producer and as an actor to think that they wouldn't work that out. in one conversation. So, Grace, love her. I think she's great, but I really do think she's dead wrong on this.
And also, too, I mean, after especially the success of the first season, I think the actor is very much aware that, he appreciates the opportunity. Right?
Unless,
I mean, you're going to have those like jobs like your whole life, like, being the Mandalorian, I guess.
Unless, as it was written, they weren't planning on having him take his helmet off at all, and that's what the whole issue was.
Okay, well, I mean, minus the one scene where he had his face fixed, the first one.
Yeah.
You think going forward, the other two like reveals were just written in because
no, I'm it's just something that popped in my head.
Okay.
Like maybe there was no plan for him to take his
because,
helmet
like
off.
I said, that the three times he's done it makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe he threw a fit, and then they were like, "All right, we have to appease our star." So they wrote those in. If that's what happened, then everything Grace said is true. But
well, I mean, I think are you thinking that just because the two reveals were so close together? You have one last week and now this one.
It's just an idea that just
because I mean, you could make that argument just because they revealed his face in that episode way back, and now like back to back reveal.
Right.
But I mean, they made sense.
They were meaningful and impactful.
I mean, so it's like what you're saying, proper storytelling, right?
Absolutely. That's absolutely brilliant storytelling.
It just made sense.
But maybe in the original drafts, he wasn't taking his helmet off in these moments.
Sure.
And that's why Pascal was like, "This is BS. This makes no sense."
Well, if it was a compensation addition or whatever you want to call it, it worked.
It definitely worked. So, anyways, we may never know. The world, anyways.
Like Tootsie Roll Pops, the world may never know.
How many licks does it take to get to Pascal's face?
With that Beskar armor, probably.
I keep saying Pascal because I've totally forgotten if it's Pedro or Pablo Pascal.
It's Pablo.
It's Pablo.
Okay. Isn't that funny? Yeah, I remember that.
So how many licks does it take to get Pablo Pascal's face? I'm sure somebody would like to know.
You're going to be raw, that armor.
Oh, if you have to go through the armor?
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. All right. So I think we beat this horse to death.
Just happy to see my idol, my boyhood hero. So I think now going forward, DC needs to take a cue, and I think it's Christopher Reeve as Superman. I think we can do it now.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Richard Pryor will come back.
Stop. James Dean.
They'll DH Hackman, Ned Beatty, Otis.
Just stop. I know you're just trolling me at this point because you don't want to see that nonsense either.
You would think.
You don't want to see that crap either.
Otis. Richard Pryor.
Only if he squeals like a pig.
God, they're all dead. Margot Kidder.
We
can do it all. Yeah. How about that? What a good opportunity to really test the limits. Let's bring back the original cast of Superman. Bring back Donner. Now Richard Donner's still alive. You could direct it. So there we go. I would love
CG,
that.
All CG actors.
Oh man, you could. I think Terrence Stamp is still with us. We could have Zod come back. Is the Nuclear Man guy still alive? John Cryer could come in. Luthor's nephew would be awesome.
Oh, all right. We're gonna leave that nonsense alone because nobody wants to see that. So thanks for watching. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jason.
And we'll be back next week. I'm not sure what we're gonna be doing next week. There's no Disney show on, so we'll probably review.
We're gonna review the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. All right. Next week we're gonna be talking about the holiday.
And it has
special.
Boba Fett in it. So
and it has one of the greatest softcore porn scenes in TV history.
Yeah, itchy. Yeah,
so, anyways, thanks for watching and get on the bandwagon.